Hi guys, John here. I'm going to be explaining in this video exactly why I believe the Bitcoin bottom is going to be in December of this year and how you can take full advantage of this opportunity and why its accumulation point now and in the next 6 months. The first thing I want to point out for you for Bitcoin is the 4-year Bitcoin cycle. The 4-year Bitcoin cycle talks about the Bitcoin bull market and bear market being combined into a 4-year cycle. Now there's actually four-year cycles that lead into a 16-year cycle. Again, much more complex and leads into much more longer term strategies. What I want to explain to you here is now we are on the weekly chart and this we're looking at Bitcoin. Let's start off by looking at the 4-year Bitcoin cycle in the last cycle, and I'll show you and explain to you exactly what's going on. So the last 4-year cycle starts here when this low occurred back in January 2015. The next the end of the 4-year cycle now ends on the next low. As you can see, we had a massive run up, and then we had a low, and then that was the point where we began to make a new high. And here was the end and the beginning of a new cycle. Let us use this measure tool and actually calculate, drag it from the beginning and actually drag it over to the bottom here. And you can actually see it's 204 bars. If you calculate all that out, 208 bars is exactly, with 52 weeks to a year, 52 times 4 years to make the 4-year Bitcoin cycle is 208. So there you can see we're at 204 right here, 203. It just moved one tick. When I clicked it, 208 is the 4-year Bitcoin cycle. Now, let's actually do the next Bitcoin cycle. Here we can see that this was the next cycle low before we pushed to a new high. And as I showed you in this previous example, what do we need to do? We need to extend it to the new low. So let's do that. Let's calculate from this and let's go 208 weeks because that is an exact calculation. As you can see, that one went 204. It's always give or take a couple of months. Let's calculate this 208 weeks right there. As you can see, we're 208 weeks and now we're coming into this region here, which, where does that line up with? Lines up with the November timeframe. It lines up with the December timeframe. And what this is actually indicating is the expectation of Bitcoin to then come down in this, at this time in here. This won't be the exact price, but this 208 days, this will be the low. The low might be in here. We might do this where we trade up, and then we do this massive big capitulation, do some type of V move, and it correlates to somewhere between 200 weeks and 220 weeks, which would line up, give or take, on that 208 week Bitcoin cycle, 4-year Bitcoin cycle. Let's actually scroll out again because what we can actually see is the previous Bitcoin cycle. Bitcoin down here, the first date of this exchange was the 15th of August, 2011. But as you would know, Bitcoin was created in 2010, literally 1 year exactly ago. So if we drag be about 52 before here, we need a little bit more, be about there, not quite, somewhere about there. There we go. And then we drag that to the low. See, that is 238 bars. Again, just a little bit over, but again, it just shows it's a 4-year Bitcoin cycle. We're actually just a little bit off. We put 60 weeks instead of 52. So we'll just give that a little bit. It's closer to 230. Again, it is give or take. I did say about 220. But as you can see, again, we've had 1 Bitcoin 4-year cycle, 2 Bitcoin 4-year cycles, 3 about to be the end of the 3rd, and we're actually pushing into the 4th. They actually talk about there being 4 cycles. And again, we can get into more complex strategies where are their tops related to the middle? Are they right translated? As you can see here, this is right translated because it happened in the right part of the 4-year cycle. Again, this top is right translated because it occurred in the right part of the 4-year cycle. Again, this one is close to right translated. It is right translated. It happened in the later part of the Bitcoin cycle, although if you bring it over here, which that was basically the high, it did happen near the midpoint to the right translated of the cycle. And it'd be very interesting to see where this next 4-year cycle high is going to occur. What happens if they're closer to the right hand translated, that actually is more bullish, because you actually have a longer amount of time that you're in the bull market. And if they're more closer to the left hand translated, it actually means that the bull market occurs very early in the cycle, and then you have 3 years of bear market, rather than here, as you would see, from here to here, we have 154 out of the 203 bars of bulls. And then we only have about 50 bars of bears. So you can see that we're in, out of 3 out of 4, we're in a bull market. But if we're in a left-hand translated cycle, where let's extend this, let's copy and paste this out and say this is going to be the next 4-year cycle out here. What happens if this top actually occurs over here? That actually is left-hand translated. And then as you can see, the bottom would occur here, the top would occur here. That's 47 bars. And then we would have over 150 bars of downwards momentum. And actually, that is what I'm actually expecting, because we've had so many right-hand translated moves that we should actually have a left-hand translated cycle. So a nice bottom here and a push up would be absolutely beautiful. So as you can see, this is actually going to line up with the end of November, the beginning of December timeframe, 2022. So by the end of the year, that's when you want to have full accumulation of whatever you want to have, full liquidity. You want to be able to purchase these things. So if you're tying up and you're losing money trading and things, you really need to tighten some things in, because you want to have a good pool of money in this area here. That's where you really want to get excited. I just want to show you a few other things, so let's get onto that. All right, just want to show you another thing as well here. If you connect these two lines and then actually extend this over, extend this over, you can actually see that what people were expecting here is to come into this area for the high. People are expecting, if you see over here, 200,000 Bitcoin. The reason being is they extended these lines and they were expecting this channel to actually come through. You can actually see here, we're actually here popping onto the bottom of the channel. And this is a bullish, for the short term at least, is a bullish. A lot of people are looking at this in the long term and thinking, this is a great buy. This is a long-term logarithmic chart using parallel lines that work on short-term time frames. So of course they work on long-term time frames. But again, if we were to have this, as we're expecting another drop into the end of December, beginning of December, then we would expect to even break this trend line. And if we were to break it, it would become resistance. Support always becomes resistance when broken. So if we were to break through, it might become resistance and might be a little bit hard for it to get through. But this is another thing that everyone's looking at, because everyone was expecting Bitcoin to push up here. As I was saying, this move through here was so crazy, but we didn't quite get that here. You can just see the momentum wasn't there. This little push here was not the same logarithmic move. If you can see, the percentage across here was 9,000%, whereas the move from the bottom here was 1,800%. So we basically had 5 times less volatility, 5 times less profit for a lot of these people, and they were expecting. But if you actually extend from the bottom up to here, that's when they get closer to the 5,000%. So would have got 50% volatility in comparison. So these are the things that are very, very interesting. Talking about 4-year cycles, I'm sure that's something that not a lot of people actually take into account. But if you actually use the past and actually look at these 4-year cycles and formulate some ideas and some plans, you can really see that they definitely have some right structures, and they're definitely valid in the market. You need to be adding as many confluent strategies that all make sense. And I like day trading and looking at candles and charts, but I really like to add in these macro type strategies that really solidify what I'm looking at, and also helps me long-term collect a position and determine when is the best time to buy. When is the time that the price I should go all in Bitcoin? Is the price now, is 19,000 the best price, or can we push down to 12,000, 10,000 level? And is that what it's telling me? Is that the best price that I can get in at? If you've enjoyed the video, leave a comment and tell me what you think. Have you ever thought about this? Have you ever heard about this before? Like the video, subscribe if you've enjoyed, and I'll have a video for you very, very soon.